Please come. Muskan?
Good morning.
Good morning. Please sit down. So, Muskan, tell us about yourself very briefly about your academic qualifications, degree onwards, and your main hobbies. And if you have worked anywhere after your graduation, then your work experience.
Sure, sir. I am Muskan Dagar. I come from a small village in Jhajjar district of Haryana. I've done my graduation from Hindu College, University of Delhi, and my graduation subjects were physics, chemistry, and maths. So I have a Bachelor of Sciences. And after that, I'm currently, from the past month, I'm under training as a probationer in the Indian Civil Account Service. And in my free time, I like to cook and read fiction.
So, Muskan, you have spent 3 years in Delhi, in Hindu College campus. So, tell me, 10 years have passed since Nirbhaya happened. So, both in campus and off campus, how do you assess the progress of safety and security of women in Delhi?
Sir, it's very unfortunate that even after 10 years of the Nirbhaya incident, Delhi has done better, but not as well as it could have when it comes to issues of women's safety. When I talk about particularly the campus, as you've mentioned, it's a relatively safer space because of the environment that it provides and the type of people that are there, which are essentially students only. But if we talk about Delhi in the larger aspects, we have a lot of cases that come up every day about women's safety. So there are certain things that can be done better for sure.
All right. What can be done? Like, suppose if you take over the reins of, say, North Delhi, campus district, whatever you have noted in your comments, you have mentioned generally, how would you take care of those deficiencies?
So, first and foremost, the policing in the area, especially when it comes to the night time, should be enhanced so that there's no lacunae in the policing aspects in the area. Apart from that, there are certain regions which are not well lit, if we talk about the nighttime itself. So that needs to be catered to. Apart from that, the process of the grievance redressal itself should be more effective so that the victims that there are, if somebody is facing any problems, they don't have issues coming forward and talking about that, and the issues are promptly dealt with as well. So be it registering the FIR, so be it women police officers in the region, or there should also be a proper CCTVs everywhere, should be set up wherever need be. And apart from that, in the long-term sense, there's need for greater sensitization of the people in the region, which can be done through various drives or awareness programs, etc.
So, Muskan, how do you compare the safety security situation with Haryana? You think it is something which should be your model, and that is how you will bring Delhi to that level, or maybe Haryana also has problems?
So Haryana also has women safety problems. That's very unfortunate as
You
well.
have a school gender champion.
Yes.
So what special thing that what exactly, can you explain very briefly what was your what activity you were doing?
So my role was for greater gender sensitization in my school. So I had to bring about the topic of gender sensitization and the gender differences or issues that women face. To do that, we organized assemblies or various competitions that led to awareness. And in general, a sense of conversation around the topic was created so that people could be more aware of these issues.
Muskan, you have done history.
Yes.
Right? Now, you must have read about various rulers in India. So, and their administration also. So, which ruler's administration you have liked the best and you would like to emulate if you become a civil servant in administration?
So here I would mention the Vijayanagar ruler Krishna Dev Raya, whose administration has been quite talked about even by the foreign travelers as well as the other contemporary rulers of India. He gave, not in his administration, it was very effective, very streamlined, but also he gave a lot of space to creativity and the like. He had the post of Asht Diggajas in his court, which fostered a lot of art and architecture and literature in his kingdom. But as an administrator, also he was very able, and he ruled the kingdom for quite a few years, quite a few years. So I would like to mention him.
I pass on to Mr. Khanna.
Muskan,
Yes.
very sweet name.
Thank you.
Muskan, tell me, you were part of literary society,
Yes.
right? So there is a literary festival, literary Lit Fest as it is called, held in Jaipur.
Yes.
So what for is this Lit Fest held? Do we gain anything out of Lit Fest?
So we do gain quite a bit out of it. We bring all the literary luminaries in the world to a common platform to showcase their works and to talk about their works, to engage with the readers. So in a very creative sense and a literary sense, we gain a lot. Apart from that, in a very indirect manner, there's also gains to the tourism in the region. There's gains to the people who live there. So there's income to the country as well that comes along with it. So I think there is that is gainful as a festival.
All right. So can you name some Indian writers who write in English and who participated in Lit Fest?
So one writer I've particularly met at the Jaipur Literature Festival who writes in English would be Mrs. Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. Apart from that, we have the likes of Jhumpa Lahiri and Arvind Adiga who write in English. These are some few names that come up.
Okay, you are from Hindu college and with science and
Yes.
history as a subject. So let's talk of science. Okay. What is quantum theory and what is its importance in present day technology?
So quantum theory in physics deals with matter and particles at a subatomic level, at a quantum level. So in today's day age in technology, we have a lot of applications for quantum tech, be it in supercomputing or be it for secure communication systems. So these are the few things that are coming up in my mind.
No problem. Tell me about nuclear fusion. Why was nuclear fusion in news?
So nuclear fusion is the process of the essentially fusion of two nuclei to create that leads to generation of energy, which can then be harnessed and then used as electricity. It's different from the fission process that we have today, because in the fission the nucleus is broken apart and the energy that is thus released is harnessed and then used. It has been in news these days because we are trying to capture the energy that results out of nuclear fusion, because it's very the amount of energy that comes out of it is very high, and to harness it is very difficult. So there's a global coalition also that's working on it, which India is a part of. We're trying to make a tokamak, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Apart from that, nations like the UK and China have also done some advancement in this aspect, so that is why it has been used.
Okay, Egyptian president is coming.
Yes, sir.
So can you say something on Indo-Egypt relations?
So I'm not particularly aware
Okay,
of.
should history be rewritten?
So history should be rewritten if it's done for the right purposes. As history as a subject continues to be dynamic, because over time we make new findings, we have more archaeological findings that come up, and we get better facts, we get better analysis of the things that we've already found
No,
in our time.
what I actually meant was this topic is being debated these days, and a committee has been formed to rewrite the history. So, in what context? Why it was essential?
Yes, sir. The history that we read today and we see it as today, it's also based around the perception of historians and how they have evaluated the history that we have. So if there's a bias in the historians' perceptions, then that should be promptly sought out and then we should try to remove it or try to neutralize that bias if it is there. So in that context, history should be rewritten. Apart from there are also certain aspects of our history which are not much talked about. Say, a woman's perspective in history is largely missing from our books. Or when we talk about tribal groups, our tribal history is also largely missing. So if we need to rewrite it and remove these anomalies from history, that should be it.
Okay. Which is the longest war in the history? Anything that comes to your mind?
So the longest ongoing war should be the war that's still ongoing between North and South Korea, if I am not wrong. Apart from that, sir, I'm not sure.
Okay, last question. Khaps versus Panchayats. Would you like to compare the two? And are Khaps obstructing Panchayat working?
So, Khaps are essentially traditional groupings based around community or region. Whereas the Panchayat is a constitutionally mandated body that's elected by the people itself. The Khap can and has hindered the functioning of Panchayats in some areas by taking the control of the, the judicial, by giving out judicial pronouncements in some regions, be it along the lines of patriarchal diktats of honor killings or say restrictions on women, whether it be them wearing jeans, etc. But by and large, the Panchayats and the Khaps function into separate domains, whereas the Khap envisions itself as the protector of the tradition, and the Panchayat is more based around the idea of development of the village, etc., building roads, and things like that.
Muskan, you tell me, you were talking about the archaeological sources for writing history.
Yes.
Is it not? Now, if we look into Indian system, then Indus Valley civilization has given us some archaeological proofs. Some sources are there. What about the era earlier than that? How do we go about?
So we also have archaeological finds from the era before that. We just focus on the Indus Valley civilization because it was the first civilization on
before
the Indian continent.
Indus Valley.
Before Indus Valley, sir, we have remains from Maharashtra. We have from the Latur district and from regions like Bori, where we have the earliest evidence of humans in the Indian subcontinent, resulting out of the Africa migration. Apart from that, we have proceeding from there, we have evidences of the Bronze Age, the Chalcolithic period, which was about copper, the Iron Age, especially in the southern India.
Copper Age. Copper first, then Bronze, I think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So copper will be how old?
So the Chalcolithic period has been starting from around 4,000 to 3,000 BC.
It's okay. Now, point is, my worry is how do I accommodate Mahabharat war into my history books? Which period I should assign and what will be the proof with me for incorporating? Because if I write it as a part of history, I will need some proof.
Yes, sir.
Some support.
Yes, sir.
From my known sources of history. So many sources, books, travelers, dialogue, this, that. I'm not able to incorporate it from that point of view. How do I incorporate?
So the Mahabharata war should be incorporated in the Vedic age that we say today. We have found certain evidences from where the war is said to have happened. We also have evidences of flooding in Hastinapur, in the region of Hastinapur, as the Mahabharata also mentions.
Mm-hmm.
We have found evidences of bangles and horseshoes and horse bones, etc.
No, the problem is different. Problem is that iron came much later, as you know. Iron. The discovery of iron is later than copper.
Yes,
copper
sir.
is earlier.
Yes, sir.
So, if copper discovery we put at a certain period, then how do I reconcile that great equipments of Mahabharata? If copper is also not there, iron is also not there, bronze is not there, then how come those machines which are described in Mahabharata?
Sir, the Iron Age begins from around 1000 BC in the Indian subcontinent, and the later Vedic age from when we as historians think the Mahabharata could have happened, as that stems from after 1000 BC to up to 600 BC. So for that time period, we have evidences of iron from the regions as well. But apart from that, the Mahabharata, as it has evolved over time through the oral transmission as well as writing it and inculcating the legends into it, has evolved as an epic. So, which has gone beyond the scope of what might actually have happened.
Can
So
it be
it's
incorporated
historical.
as a part of history then, if it is based on epics?
So it has a certain historical core. We have found evidences that something along those lines might have happened, but just not as elaborately as the epic might mention.
Okay. Government of India has a policy of neighbors first.
Yes.
As evidence of neighbors first, can you cite some examples from recent past?
So the first thing that comes to mind would be India's help to Sri Lanka during its recent economic crisis. Apart from
What
that,
they have done?
sorry.
What they have done?
So we have supplied it with fuel, and we've also given out lines of credit
Very good.
to Sri Lanka. Apart from
Lines
that-
of credit has been given.
Yes.
And in fact, very recently, some buses also have been given to improve the traffic, city bus systems. Okay. As part of women empowerment, lots of legislations have been incorporated. Give me 2-3 legislations as a measure of women empowerment.
So the first thing about it would be about women's safety. So we have the POSH Act for women's safety at the workplace. Apart from
What
that,
is what you said? Give me
so
the full form.
Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act.
Okay. So this act was in 2013.
Yes, sir.
Now, it is a successor to Vishaka Guidelines. When Vishaka Guidelines were made?
So I'm not sure of the year. I'm really sorry.
Are you sure of who was Vishaka?
So from what I've read about the case, it was about the Bhavri Devi's case that was there in the Supreme Court. But I'm not sure if there's somebody who named
The
Vishaka.
question is not of Bhavri Devi. The question is who was Vishaka?
So I don't know of a person who was actually named Vishaka. I think it's called that because of the organization that led.
Maybe. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Muskan, Haryana has been traditionally a patriarchal society.
Yes.
So, but over the last 1 decade, things have changed, and now women have come forward in a big way. So, what has brought this change? Sex ratio has improved. Women are coming forward in education, in other areas. So, what are the reasons for this change, transformation?
So the primary reason would be our development as a society as a whole, because there's greater awareness about women's issues. There's more talk about it. Apart from that, there's a lot of legislations in the area as well. If you talk about, you've mentioned sex ratio has improved. So one of the primary reasons would be a strict implementation of the PCPNDT Act, which has brought that about. We have schemes like the Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao, which have brought about behavioral changes in a lot of people in the area who now see daughters as an asset. There's also the role of role models who have come up from Haryana, who inspire other women to follow their lead. We have female sportsperson as well, and so thus sports is acting as a form of emancipation for women in Haryana.
Good. Now, you come from an agriculture family.
Yes.
Tell me 2 things which you would like to change in agriculture in Haryana.
So the first thing would be the monoculture that has been going on since the Green Revolution, because it's primarily focused around wheat and rice. So if we can inculcate more millets and also pulses in our cropping patterns,
That is
would
good,
be good.
very good. Tell me what is the second one?
So along with it comes the issue of the groundwater levels that have gone down in Haryana, and the other things that come up with it would be the salinization and alkalization of land that has happened, waterlogging in quite a few places. So that also needs to be addressed adequately.
Now, Muskan, there are a lot of schemes of Government of India and must be of state government also for welfare of farmers,
Yes, sir.
right?
What about landless poor in the villages? Can you name 2-3 schemes which can also be used for welfare of landless poor, landless laborers?
So recently, the Model Tenancy Act was brought about, which tries to preserve the rights of the landless laborer who might be renting out land from other people. Apart from that, there's the concept of the community land that might be in the villages that can be used by landless laborers as well. For example, growing feed for their livestock.
Any central government scheme for landless people?
Sir, I can't think.
Okay, no problem. It's okay. Now, stubble burning, this time fortunately has come down by 35-36% from Haryana and Punjab. But one district in Haryana has brought down by 80% due to, I would say, visionary or the innovative ideas of the district magistrate of that district. Are you aware of that?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware of that particular.
Oh, no problem. Now, which are Ramsar sites in Haryana?
Sir, we have the Bhindavas bird sanctuary, that is one.
Okay.
And there's also Sultanpur Lake, that is one.
Very good. Now, 2-3 days back, there was a report of IAS-22. Have you read that?
Yes, sir. I've read.
So, what is the highlight of, in the report with regard to girls' enrollment?
Sir, the girls' enrollment over the previous years has increased. It has the girls who are out of school has decreased from about 4% to about 2% as of now. But the learning levels have decreased.
Good. You have heard of the Raisina dialogue?
Sir, I've heard about it, but I cannot recall.
Okay, no problem. Now, you see, the reservation of women in Panchayati Raj and local self-government, I think it has resulted in a huge empowerment of women. You will agree with that?
So it has resulted in some empowerment of women because of the reservation, about 43% of Panchayati Raj elected members are right now women. But the issue of the Sarpanch Pati, that we call it, is still persistent. So no actual real empowerment can be said to have happened because the men in the family, be it the husbands or brothers, see this as a way around the women reservation in elections and try to capture the power. So the women themselves in those positions don't have much to go. Okay.
Now this Afghanistan, we have very vital strategic and security interest in Afghanistan. Presently, it is under Taliban regime. India has been aiding Afghanistan for decades. We have created a lot of infrastructure. So now, after Taliban regime has come 2 years back, so how now government of India should engage with Taliban diplomatically? Do you think it is the right time to engage with them, Taliban?
So I do think it is a high time to engage with the Taliban because we do have strategic interests in the region. We have invested more than $3 billion in infrastructure in Afghanistan, which needs to be protected as well. And if we do not engage with the Taliban as of now, we also have the issue of terrorism that might crop up with its alliance with, say, Pakistan, etc. So to engage effectively with Taliban, we also need to engage with all the other partners who have a stake in this issue. So we should be talking at a regional level as well with all the stakeholders, say, be it Pakistan or Central Asian countries or China.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Muskan.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Muskan.
Good morning, sir.
Have you started working in Indian Civil Account Services?
Yes, sir. I've been under training for almost a month.
Okay. So, tell me, it might be difficult for central government to follow different accounts and financial practices of different ministries. So, won't it be wise to merge all the account services into one? We have IDAS, Defense Account Services, IAS, IRAS we had, which is now into IRMS. So I would like to have your opinion, and if done so, what will be the merits and demerits?
Sir, I do believe that we should merge all the accounting services that there are under the government of India. that can lead to a lot of de-siloization of our practices, because essentially the account making process is similar across all the services, and there are certain differences when it comes to, say, defense. They have an IFA role that is not there in the other services, and there is some accrual based accounting in the railways, but that can be catered to as well. If we merge all the services, we can have a better cadre strength in that aspect. And there are better effectiveness and efficiency in our account making process as well. But there might be certain disadvantages to it as well. The primary one would be when it comes to the promotional avenues for all the amalgamated services. Because if we amalgamate the services right now, there might be some tensions when it comes to the promotional posts, that might be a few at the top. But that also can be dealt with in a longer run. That will phase out in the longer run. So it will be better for the services.
And since you are already into services and your first preference is Indian Administrative Service, so why do you want to become an IAS officer?
So I've already gotten into the services, fortunately, and I'm very grateful for it. But if I become an IAS officer, that will give me an opportunity to work more directly in the social and economic sector than what my job right now might entail. So that is why I would want to be in the IAS.
Okay. So let's say if you were to be DM of your home district, Jhajjar,
Yes.
what changes would you propose as a DM?
So the first change would be about the women's issue in the region, primarily the women's safety issues that there are in the region. A lot of girls don't feel safe even going to schools or colleges. So if we can ensure that there's proper transportation to and fro, for example, or say there's proper policing, women police officers, proper sensitization, etc. Apart from that, work needs to be done along the agricultural aspects in the region, because Jhajjar as a whole does not have land that is very prosperous, if I may say, because it's very sandy soil and the groundwater level has gone down a lot. So if we can work towards more diversification of the crops in the region and better agricultural practices in terms of irrigation, then that can also be sought after. Apart from that, in a lot of regions, there's sanitation issues as well as waterlogging in the cities. So proper urban planning and sewage planning can be looked into.
Okay. Talking about Indian economy, where do you see Indian economy 10 years down the line?
So 10 years down the line, we might be the fourth largest global economy from the fifth standing that we have today. We might have touched the $4 trillion mark by 10 years, if not the 5-1, because of the setback we've had because of the pandemic. Sorry, sir, the 5 trillion mark, my apologies. And our exports should have increased by that time, better in terms of employment as well, because we are working towards the increasing employment, especially in the manufacturing sector through our schemes like Make in India and PLI. So I believe that they would materialize in the next within the next 10 years. That much.
Okay. If you were to be the finance minister now, so what changes would you propose in income tax in the upcoming budget?
So in the income tax, if we can maybe bring down the number of slabs that we might have, and or the exceptions that we might have for better compliance with the income tax laws, so that we can increase our tax base. That might be something that I would like to look into. Apart from that, sir, I'm able to think of other things that I might do.
Okay, thank you. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
So, Muskan, any subject, any topic, anything which we did not cover from your DAF, anything left? So, I can ask the last question. If you can identify anything which the panel has not covered from your DAF.
So, we might talk about my hobbies. If that's okay.
So, your hobbies is reading fiction and cooking. So, let me focus on cooking. So, tell me, is Indian food a cultural heritage of India?
It certainly is. Food comes along with the culture. Food makes a lot of people feel a lot of connect with the food that they eat on a daily basis and of the food where they come from. So it is a part of the cultural heritage. We have traditional foods in India as well, which are very region specific also. So, I
So
think
let's
it
talk of Haryana, any region specific heritage food of Haryana.
So we have the bajre ki khichdi, the bajre ki roti, we have churma and kachri ki sabzi, to name a few that are there.
So thank you, Muskan. We conclude our interview now. You may proceed to the other room for some time. We'll call you back again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I come?
Yes, come, Muskan. Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
So now this is an informal discussion. So tell us, Muskan, how did you fare today?
So I think I could have done better in some aspects, but by and large it was okay, sir.
Like, what are the areas which you found within yourself that I wish I had done better? Just
So there were some information gaps that about some, I cannot recall the questions right now, but there were certain information gaps that I felt I could have answered.
so that I think your assessment is matches ours also. But before that, you have impressed the panel. You have done very well. You were very confident and you were comfortable, and your communication was very nice. The speed, the pitch. You could be a bit louder if you could.
Okay, sir.
It will bring some more energy into the discussion. And you gave a good introduction. Your question on Delhi safety was also very balanced. Haryana thing also, sensitization word, you used a good word, sensitization of gender, this thing. And a little bit about the ruler that I asked about, you said Krishna Devaraya. So I was trying to relate it to what you would pick up from his administration. Otherwise, it's a very drab kind of, we're not here to test your knowledge about history. Basically, I wanted to apply your knowledge into, like, you could have said the bravery, or maybe you said art and culture, prospered in that. So I would, or leadership, some trait of that ruler you could have picked up. You could name anyone. That is not so important. But of course, Aurangzeb वगैरह नहीं बताना, नहीं तो उल्टा जाएगा. So, but idea basically, so you could have been more specific as to what trait you would identify. And idea is basically that who would you like most, so that his ideals, his way of administering, you would try to emulate. And I use the word emulate also, if you remember. तो थोड़ा ध्यान से सुन के और फिर जवाब देना ठीक रहता है. You were smiling also, as your name also stands. Otherwise, at times it happens the other way. So that also shows confidence. And as you rightly mentioned, some of the gaps that you had, you have to fill up those gaps by reading and reading and reading.
Yes.
You have done BSc, PCMA. There are not too many subjects, Muskan, to be asked, the questions to be asked from. So you can see you have physics, chemistry, maths, and you have history, and you have your hobbies and some extracurricular activity. Rest will be all open. So even otherwise, for any other candidate, economics is something which is open to all. You will certainly get some question on economics, whether you have done BA economics or not. Political science or matters polity, you should read without any this thing that I have not done BA politics. I mean, I've not taken political science in my optional also, and international relations, that is a must, and social sector, education, health, women, and you are a women candidate, so we started with, you will certainly get one question at least on related to women empowerment or whatever. You should be ready with that. And so in all, it was impressive. Just read more and rest was fine.
Muskan, you're a very good candidate and you have good analytical ability. That's a plus point. Good structuring also for answers. You're able to structure it fast Now, there is only one point which will make it better. You see, the communication is complete when the other party receives it. You transmit it, other party has to receive it. If you speak too fast, then other party which is having less capability than you of understanding will take time. So all oldies are sitting there. So have some consideration for them. And while answering, you see what is happening when you know the answer, you're getting too fast. When you don't know, then there is a problem. It doesn't matter. Because when you don't know rightly, you are able to say that, sir, I do not know this. Good approach. But when you know and it goes too fast, then others are not able to appreciate that. They will understand, you will not be able to appreciate in your favor. We want more marks. It's simple. So they will be able to appreciate it, give better marks if they are able to get it through you. So वो थोड़ा सा control करिएगा, तो it will become better. On history, the only thing which is in discussion these days is what has been told to you about rewriting of history. So different aspects of rewriting, read it and keep yourself ready. There is no need to go into detail of controversies. Keep yourself clear of the controversies, but then be sure of the theoretical aspect of it. I like history of history, sources of history.
New education policy, in fact, that talks about it, and based on that, a committee was formed. So read on this committee that has been formed for rewriting the history. Okay, I am sure you would have written. Maybe you are not recalling it because this is part of the current affairs.
Now, when you are already a member of Indian Civil Account Service, and we targeting basically number 1 and number 2 service. So you will also be targeted at number 1 and number 2. That means they will be looking for you whether you keep yourself aware of what is happening around you. India and its neighborhood, trouble spots in the world, India's views on various matters. So, and of course for IAS, you have already prepared, but this you have to refresh about India and neighborhood, because that keeps on changing. Okay, thank you.
So Muskan, I asked you about Egypt.
Yes, sir.
Because Egyptian president is coming.
Yes, sir.
So your interview is on 30th January.
Yes, sir.
So that will be very close to the time when he has left. So there would be a number of news coverage around that time. Next day the budget is going to come. So if economic survey is available, or at least the commentary or the expectations from the budget, read that. Nuclear fest, you covered it very well, but there are some controversies also linked to lead fest. So read on lead fest controversies, some demonstration, Raid Samadhi, for example.
Okay, sir.
There were a lot of demonstrations for
Yes.
that. And then longest history, these are those small questions just to test longest, shortest, So read on that. Your own subject, nuclear fusion, you covered very well.
Well, Muskan, I think all points have been covered by Chairperson Sir and honorable members. I will not repeat. Just brush up your current affairs. That is one suggestion from my side. I mean, that is already that has been suggested. I would also, endorse that, because stubble burning, the Ambala DM has done very exemplary work. When Mr. Yadav is there, he has brought down by 80%. So just read that model he has developed. There are a lot of innovations he has used. Similarly, on Raisina dialogue also. So, because it happens every year in Delhi, so you should.
Yes.
Anyway, just one small observation. In your introduction, you have mentioned that I come from a small village. To avoid this word small, okay? Anything which is negative from your side, and where you give an impression that you are seeking sympathy of the board by saying that I come from poor family, I come from small village, I uneducated background, like that. Anything you should avoid that, principally. Okay? Otherwise, you are very good candidate and you should do very well. I am quite confident. All the best.
Muskan, just to add, you could have given better answers in economy. So think over those. the target is very near for 5 trillion, not 10 years down the line. In fact, we are talking about 10 trillion by 2035. The question was on 10 years down the line.
Yes.
Okay, so think over those, prepare better answers. Otherwise, you were very good. So I pass on to Chairman, sir.
So, the Muskan, just two things came to my mind when I came to know that 30th January is your. So, the importance of 30th January,
Yes, sir.
the history of Republic Day and Constitution, and beating the retreat. 29th, it would have just finished. So, just go through them.
Okay, sir.
All right?
Yes.
Now, any question from your side?
No, I'm trying to think of it.
Sure? Muskan, we have given you very high marks, but you are capable of even scaling higher. We have given 68%, which amounts to, I think, more than 180, 187. 187. So, you are that material, and but you have the deficiencies which we told. We told deficiencies first because in order to not make you complacent. If I had told you right in the beginning you got 68%, you would have said, I don't bother about other things. So,
Score last time.
how much did you score when you got the ICAO?
187.
Arre? So, but we are not happy.
Yes.
You are just the same.
Yes, sir.
You must go up. Huh?
थोड़ी एनर्जी और लाना, क्योंकि आपकी आवाज बहुत दबी है, थोड़ी और
कमाल है, लास्ट ईयर से देख रहा हूँ मैं।
रेस्ट ऑल इज गुड, बट ब्रिंग वो जोश आना चाहिए अंदर से, दैट यू आर वन ऑफ द फ्यू हु क्वालिफाई.
So, Muskan, unless you get more than 187, how would you get IAS? So, these 10-20 marks will make the difference.
200 you can get comfortably. Very easy.
You are dressed up very well. बहुत ही अच्छा आपका गेटअप है, तो मतलब more or less you can follow the same.
Sir, I will so.
हाँ, you must wear a sari. Huh?
Yes.
Your personality you can't change in few days. So that fortunately you already have very good personality.
Thank you.
So now only issue is of little bit of more learning. That's all, which you can do.
एक और साड़ी जो आपने पहनी है उसके बारे में पूरी जानकारी है.
हाँ.
कौन सा सिल्क है, कहाँ की बनी हुई है, और इसका जीडीपी में कंट्रीब्यूशन कितना है आपके स्टेट का, या कहाँ मैक्सिमम प्रोड्यूस होता है.
और लेडी,
because at times you know if there is a lady member sitting there or even otherwise, this is a very favorite question.
बहुत गॉडी मत पहन के जाना, जस्ट सिंपल से सिंपल,
Yes.
है ना. आइडेंटिफाइबल ना हो तो और भी अच्छा है किसी जगह से,
Yes. sir.
कि कोई वो हरियाणा का ये बूटे वाली साड़ी
So
हरियाणा
यही
की,
same साड़ी I think.
हाँ,
नहीं, ठीक है,
Good.
वेरी गुड.
है ना, मतलब
Forenoon, afternoon?
और
It's afternoon.
और अपने राज्य की तो कभी नहीं पहननी चाहिए. You know that is the reason, because you become clannish, that you are regional.
हरियाणा की तो साड़ी है भी नहीं शायद ना, कोई हरियाणा की नहीं है.
हाँ, बट ये थोड़ा साउथ टाइप टच है, लेकिन शी इज नॉट फ्रॉम साउथ, सो इट विल नॉट.
कहाँ की है वैसे आप बताएं.
So this is South Indian temple saree. It's called because of the border.
हाँ, सो यू शुड
So-
नो, एज मेंबर साहब कह रहे हैं, उसकी पूरी हिस्ट्री कर लेना.
क्योंकि साउथ की ही साड़ियाँ, कर्नाटका की सिल्क और साड़ियाँ सबसे अधिक मशहूर है, तो आप कलेक्ट मोर इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन दिस.
हिस्ट्री में जाओ, उसकी सिल्क की हिस्ट्री पूछ सकते हैं, बट उसमें बह मत जाना कि जैसे वो साड़ी की बात हुई तो यू स्टार्ट ऑफ एंड स्पेंड 2-3-4 minutes. Just be very crisp,
Yes.
even if it is a very interesting topic for you. Got it?
Yes.
So, Muskan, all the very best to you. We'll like to see your name, right,
Yes.
in the IAS, and see you at LBSNA. Okay.
Yes. sir.
All the best.
Thank you.